From cheers of the fans to the crack of the bat, learn it all from Jimbo, Gabe, Mike, and Matt. Giving thoughts on all public teams, whether times are boom or if they are lean. Hero players that you should know, not only the good things, highs and the lows. Here it is, we're ready to go. Please enjoy the podcast. On with the show!
Hello, Pacific League fans, and welcome to the podcast, the unofficially official English language podcast of Pacific League TV. I'm one of your hosts, Gabriel Lerman. Joining me virtually is Matt Seivert. How you doing tonight, Matt?
I'm doing good. The running counter for the season appearances is number 2.
Yeah, unfortunately, both Jimbo and Mike were unavailable for today's recording. We tried to sneak it in on Victoria Day because I'm off, and that didn't pan out for Jimbo, who also lives in Canada. Go figure. Needless to say, we're going to try this next week on Memorial Day, and it'll just be Jimbo and me suffering while Matt and Mike have the day off.
Well, I work connected to retail, so it's not a work holiday for me, but we'll see what happens.
My sincerest condolences. Our top story tonight, because of the short period, we're only recording this 5 days after our last episode, is actually the fact that we're going to be back on the air with the Midnight Matinee on May 24th. That's Saturday, May 24th at midnight Eastern, Friday, May 23rd at 9 p.m. Pacific. It's a rare Saturday at midnight game instead of Sunday at midnight, in part because it's a long weekend in North America. We wanted to make sure that we got more eyeballs, and in part because it's a countryside game. Matt, you've got a connection to our destination, right?
Yes. So the Hawks are hosting the Buffaloes, ostensibly hosting. It is very close. The prefecture that they are visiting on Saturday is Kumamoto, the home of bears. That's somewhat a joke, but also the bear kanji is literally right there. And then, because I spent so much time there, my first live NPB game is in the stadium I'm expecting they'll be playing again. So it's really exciting to see that happen, and I might see some familiar landmarks. We'll find out.
Yeah,
but
we'll see what we'll see what the broadcast team gives us in that respect.
Yeah. Also worth noting that the countryside tour of Kyushu isn't over for the Hawks, because the following day they will play the Buffaloes, this time in Kagoshima, which is even further south.
I'm also happy to announce that we've got our remaining 2 Midnight Matinee games set up. So you'll be able to see us on Sunday, July 6th at 1 p.m. Japan time, midnight Eastern, for the Hokkaido Nipponham Fighters hosting the Tohoku Rakuten Golden Eagles at Escon Field, Hokkaido. And Sunday, August 17th, same time, as the Orix Buffaloes host the Saitama Seibu Lions at Kyocera Dome. The last game of the season will be a baseball for breakfast game. Saturday, September 27th, Marines hosting the Fighters, 6 p.m. Japan time, 5 a.m. Eastern. So those of you early risers, the last weekend of the schedule will have a game just for you.
I'm glad it's not me on that call. I don't count as one of those early risers.
Yeah,
but
I mean, you,
I'm
especially
glad
in mountain time, my man.
Yeah, no. I mean, by that point, I may have just pulled an all-nighter to see the first part of it and say hi to, presumably, Mike and Jimbo will be on the call. But generally speaking, I'm a night owl, which is why these games are great. So we hope to see you on Saturday's broadcast. We hope to see you on all of our broadcasts for the rest of the season. And let's go ahead. I think we're ready to move on to our Around the Horn segment.
That's right. With just the two of us, we're going to be playing tennis. We've split up Jimbo and Mike's usual teams. So we start off with the 2-week reigning Pacific League pennant leaders, the Hokkaido Nipponham Fighters. 2-1 since our last episode, courtesy of a rainout in Chiba, maintaining their 1.5 game pennant lead on second place. Congratulations and banzai to the ageless Naoki Miyanishi, who set the NPB record for consecutive appearances as a reliever with 880. This was back on May 15th as the Fighters defeated the Buffaloes 7-0. The lefty reliever is also the only player in NPB history to register 400 or more career holds, and his career ERA is still 2.49 at age 39. It's basically him and the Dragons guy Hitoki Iwase in the reliever Hall of Fame. And Iwase is in the actual Japanese Baseball Hall of Fame, so maybe the Tokyo Dome basement will come calling for Miyanishi in the future too. One for the injury bug, though. Third baseman Yuki Nomura is out with a torn left oblique suffered back on the 14th. He's expected to be back in about 2 weeks. I guess it sounds worse than it is. Hopefully he's back soon because Nomura's .291 batting average is good for fourth in the Pacific League batting race, best on the Fighters. Then again, do you really need singles when you've got Manami and Reyes both with 8 or 9 home runs on the season? Open question. I'm excited to see how the team's been faring. Oh, shout out to Satya Yamasaki for his first complete game of the season. Good to see the lefty back in the rotation and succeeding. It's a good crew. Matt, your thoughts?
I mean, I agree. It's a pretty good crew. One of the things that I am excited to see is whether Kotaro Kiyomiya can really like get going. He's kind of the final bopper here that we're missing out on. Nami leads the Pacific League in home runs right now. Reyes not far behind. Nomura himself had a hot streak for a little while with that midnight matinee game. He did so well. Oh my goodness. And Kiyomiya has been a little too quiet for his standards. So if he gets back up to speed, and that's a really, really dangerous lineup. To say nothing of good pitching. Yamasaki, Hiromi Ito is the staff ace, and for good reason. We haven't heard much of Takayuki Kato's name this year. I wonder if he's going to change that.
I mean, he doesn't need to pick up much slack. Shoma Kanemura's been running, 3 consecutive complete games in a row?
I also do point out that I think those are the only winning decisions he's got this season. But, take over a game, why don't you?
If he's on, he's on. Speaking of on, Matt, you're up next. The Saitama Seibu Lions are in second?
Yeah, and that's despite 2-2 records since we last recorded. In fact, they almost swept the Buffaloes to leapfrog them, and that makes a huge difference right there. Now, one of those wins was the walk-off variety courtesy of the tiny highlight reel Natsuo Takizawa. He's the shortest active player in NPB and the shortest to get a walk-off hit in 51 years. Another stat there. By the way, Takizawa comes in at about 164 centimeters. That's literally about 5'3". And his sayonara hit against the Buffaloes, he is the shortest player to do so since Lotte's Sumiyo Hirota did it in 1974. So 51 years and change. Goodness gracious. Tatsuya Imai's scoreless innings streak finally came to a close at 29 innings against the Buffaloes this weekend. It's the first time that the Lions ace, among, their deep list of them, has given up a run since April 19th. His ERA is still below 1, and making my prediction that he couldn't win the ERA title looking a little silly. Taima Taira now has 10 saves on the season, and that leads the Pacific. Mr. Zero might be back. It's good to be the king, Taima. And we have to talk about the rookie, Seiya Watanabe. He's probably leader in the clubhouse if you go on offensive stats alone for Rookie of the Year. The other one, I won't get a chance to talk about, but I will, of course, make a mention if we don't otherwise. But Seiya Watanabe is coming for Ryo Ota's batting title. His 312 is now qualified again after he missed some time with injury, and he's only .011 behind the leader. Wouldn't it be fascinating to see a Lions rookie leading the batting title race and a Lions pitcher leading the ERA title race? No wonder the Lions are in second place. Gabe, what are your thoughts about the Saitama Seibu Lions?
You know, the knock against the Lions last season was who's going to score the runs for them. Now we have the answer. Seiya Watanabe. I think it'd be an incredible start to his career if he wins the batting title in his rookie season and could be the jolt that this Lions club has been looking for over the last couple seasons. The pitching's been fantastic. You got Sumida, Natsuki Takeuchi's back, like God Buddha Imai, and Kona Takahashi off the schneid. I keep saying it. I predicted that this club would finish out of the basement. I just didn't think they'd finish one floor off the penthouse.
Well, and I definitely predicted the fun combo, crazy prediction that the Lions would still be in the cellar, but have this successful pitching. I mean, I'm happy to be wrong on the one leg after last season, but that does it for the Saitama Seibu Lions. So now we go to the third place team, which currently is your Oryx Buffaloes. Gabe, take it away.
1-3 in the last four and now sitting uncomfortably in third. They're only a game behind the Lions. They're only a game ahead of the Hawks, and we'll get to them next. Equally uncomfortable, second baseman Ryo Ota. The Phenom got hit in the right hand by a pitch in the ninth against the Lions earlier this week. No word on how much time the current batting title leader will be out. I hope it's nothing serious. He was taken to hospital. That said, at least the pitching is still working. Sophomore Ryuhei Soltani went the distance against Chihiro Sumida and the Lions, only giving up one run and lowering his season ERA to 2.05. He joins lefty ace Hiroya Miyagi and free agent signing Aren Kuri as Buffalo starters with ERAs around 2. And yeah, you'll remember post-edit me bringing this up. It took me a while to notice third baseman Yuma Mune was off of the top club, but he's been pushed off by a quality player, Taishi Hiraoka, taking over the third base position so far this season. 871 OPS in 36 games so far, including clubbing a grand slam to pace the Buffaloes to a win since our last episode. I mentioned that the Buffaloes outfield is one of the better ones. Adding Hiraoka to help with the infield, not a bad move, especially since Kurebayashi, Tongu, and Ota are all in the batting title race themselves. You mix in Tomoya Mori fully healthy, scary looking lineup. And Tongu himself is slugging, already up to 7 home runs on the season after the sack of doo-doo that last season was. He's healthy, he's swinging the bat well. I am very excited to see him as the anchor of this Buffaloes lineup going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Ota, if Ota misses enough time that he's falls out of the batting title race. Obviously, we've seen Kensuke Kondo, Yuki Nagita, similarly, like a bunch of star players. And this is not specific to the Pacific League, by the way. I'm not mentioning names, but the other league too. There are a lot of like, wow, stalwart players are just missing enough time and aren't qualified. It's kind of surreal.
I mean,
We're
isn't
living
that
in the
why
upside
the
down.
Hawks traded away Richard Tsunagawa to the tall
Who
people in
has
the other league?
who who
Because
has now
Okamoto's
hit
out?
who has now hit 2 home runs for them?
Familiar faces in new places.
Yeah. Sorry, sneak peek of that for segment. Anyway, the thing that's great about the Buffaloes, the Oryx pitching lab, of course. Soltani was just the latest example. I mean, Aren Kuri. I mean, he was good previously, don't get me wrong, but it's like they've unlocked a new level of him right now. And this is all without Shunpei Yamashita, who's probably the most talented pitcher they have.
It is
But
scary how many players they have that can throw the ball. And of course, Andres Machado, their new ninth inning guy, just locking it down.
wow,
You
Machado is
better
great.
hope you score more than like 3 runs.
And if you don't come with a lead, then you're not likely to get one against Machado.
And
Machado has been somewhat vulnerable this year, but like, man, we'll have to see though. Obviously, Oryx's offense starting to tail off. I mean, I remember when Ota's average batting average started with a 4, so we'll see if it holds out. We'll
it's a
also see
long
if it holds.
season.
We'll also see if it holds them in a playoff spot. I honestly think that they probably deserve it. But if the Lions are this good and the Hawks get back to the Hawks, then they might be the odd ones out.
Yeah,
Just
they're
saying.
they're getting on that. Matt, tell us about the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks, please.
Sure thing. They're back to 500. They had a 3-1 week. I say week using air quotes. They're now only a game behind the Buffaloes, as previously mentioned. Now, part of that was a walk-off against the Eagles at home, courtesy of Taisei Makihara, the man they refer to as King Joker for his positional flexibility. I might as well call him wild card, but it was a glorious thing. And the Hawks are starting to come back. Like the season series go in the standings order, you kind of expect the teams below you you're beating and the teams above you're losing. The Eagles are playing the Hawks hard this year, but the Hawks recently have kind of flipped the script. They're starting to get back in the season series against the Eagles, and thanks in part to that walk-off. Equally flexible as the King Joker is Ukyo Shuto, and he's been out for a while, but is rehabbing on the farm from his right fibula fracture, and he should be joining the top team about the time you hear this episode published. I mean, there's not much to say else about the Hawks. You start to look at the pitching and start to wonder, could Arihara gain the form of last season? Right now, he's not showing it. Tomohisa Ozeki is soldiering, but middling per usual. I'm thinking of Naoyuki Iwasawa, whose return to NPB has been relatively successful, but it still feels like this Hawks team is just lacking top tier pitching, which has been the knock on them since Kodai Senga left for the Mets. But it's one of those things that if the pitching is not good and the offense has been this spotty, you really aren't surprised at how they ended up at the bottom of the league table before starting to come back and resemble the Hawks as they get injured players returning. Shuto, Ryoya Kurihara's back. Kensuke Kondo's probably another month or so away. We'll see
Who
how this
needs
goes.
trade acquisitions? Just wait for your players to come back healthy. And
Well, I mean,
let's throw some respect on Senor Moinielo's name too. Let's not forget.
yeah, he's really, really good. Second year as a starter, you would think he never was a reliever. He's been that good. Still unbeaten on the season, as I recall.
You recall correctly.
But he's also been kind of mortal this year compared to last season.
I'm just keeping an eye on Jimbo, our wayward third seat. Turns out the internet in his recording building just went kaput, so he's unintentionally benched.
Unintentionally benched it is, which means that it is going to be, my turn to pass it off back to Gabe as we go to fifth place, which is currently the Tohoku Rakuten Golden Eagles.
The Eagles are settling a little bit lower than I expected. 1-3 in their last 4. They're now 2 games behind the Hawks in 5th. They're leading the league in stolen bases. They're also second last in the league in home runs. Only the Lions have hit fewer. There's no more Eagles in the top 10 for batting average, for home runs. Asamura is tied for 8th with 17 RBI. It's kind of tough going out there. The Speedsters are still doing their part. Second baseman Hiroto Kobukata has 12 stolen bases to lead the PL. Ryosuke Tatsumi and Daisuke Nakashima both have 6. So that's Eagles ball. Small ball, running the bases, and making a mess of opposing pitchers' stature. One thing I do have to chuckle about, if you've noticed, specifically.com does have an English version. Some of the machine translations aren't perfect, though. Like starting pitcher Miguel Yahure's last name getting transliterated to Yahoo! Complete with exclamation point. He did well in his first start for the Eagles on the season, too. Only 1 unearned run in 7 innings. But every time I saw it, I just kept thinking to myself the jingle, Yahoo!
We're working out the kinks. We
Yeah,
get what we get.
Was I off key?
Nah, you're good. You were in A key. We'll call it that. As opposed to going through like 5, which I'll take. Also, worth mentioning the Eagles is that they don't have a pitcher in the top 10 in ERA either. The closest is Takahisa Hayakawa among qualifiers. He is 11th with a 264. Speaking of Hayakawa, this season he feels really snake bit. Like, definitely had a breakout, arguably, from my understanding. A breakout last year. It's not that he's regressed, but his results are just not keeping up with it. you know.
I'd be curious to see the advanced stats to see if he's just unlucky. I mean, a 2.64 ERA is still really good.
Yeah, no,
The
well,
one thing, the
in
one thing I
for the
think he's
pitcher.
struggling with is the gopher balls. In 44 and a third innings, he's given up six already.
Hmm.
And in previous years, he's pitched like 170 innings or over 100 innings, and he's given up fewer than 20. So
Yeah,
something about the long balls just burning him
sure.
in the
Uh,
early going.
to wit, his fielding independent pitching is a 395, which also ranks outside the top 10 among qualified starters in the Pacific League. As far as the homer rate, if you're curious, his number 3.4% is 16th. He wasn't even on the first page of results. That's why I had a hard time finding him.
Eee.
Yeah, process is saying that he's, getting some bad luck. It'd be interesting to see if he turns it around, but because if he doesn't, this Eagles staff, yikes.
I mean, you gotta
Yeah,
look to guys like Ryota Takinaka, I
Yahoo
guess, and
aside.
Spencer Howard and Yahure. One last note on the Eagles before we hand off. Uh, they are starting their countryside games. Tomorrow's, that's May 20th game, will be taking place in Morioka, which is pretty far north, as close to Hokkaido as you can get without going into the tunnel and over to
like
Hokkaido. So
like
they're making the
Aomori.
turnarounds.
Yeah, I do love. Also, this was a random, not quite countryside game, but it was nice to see there was a game featuring two non-tall people teams in the Tokyo Dome. It was kind of great.
Yeah, they do that every so often. Rakuten gets a home game there. Lotte gets a home game there. Heck, the Hawks took over Kyocera Dome for a game for their Osakan faithful a while ago.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So, yeah, Mike suggested just 5 minutes of incoherent screaming for this next segment, but Matt,
I'll actually do notes. I promise.
I think you can do a little bit better with the Chiba Lotte Marines, I hope.
Probably. I mean, thanks to some wizardry of research that I won't lay any claim to. I do have one thing additional to what's here. So the Chibalote Marines, last place, boo, awful. Zozo, the faithful, are very disappointed. However, in the last week, they actually have a positive record. Well, since we last recorded, they're 2-1. They had a rain out at home on the 17th, so I guess small graces. Uh, One of the things that has also happened recently is that rookie Misho Nishikawa hit a walk-off pinch hit double in the 12th inning to sneak ahead of the Fighters on Sunday, helping put a surge into what's been a long slog for him lately. Speaking of rookies, and since I totally glossed over my chance to say it, the other favorite, Rui Muneyama. We should have talked about him in the Eagles section.
We
My
should
bad.
have. Man, he's shown up in a couple of highlight reels now, too. And kudos to you and Jimbo for stepping up and assisting with those.
Sure, sure. It's been a lot of fun. That said, Muneyama, if you take the complete package, like he is not as good offensively as Seiya Watanabe, but if you include the defense, I mean, he's definitely a good pick. I also wonder because by the end of the season, some pitcher is going to throw their name in the hat. Uh, Maybe Austin Voth. I mean, he's qualified. He's like eighth in the ERA race, which is not the name you expected the Marines to have atop the ERA list. Uh, but I mean, he had what I think it was 8 innings in his most recent start. Obviously, that was the game that the Fighters took to extra, so he didn't end up with a win or anything. But like, he's putting some work in, man. Aside from Misho Nishikawa, the youth is stepping up in a couple other places as well. 19-year-old Yuto Kimura got his first career save on the 15th, and his battery mate, Ryusei Terachi, who has been profiled on our channel, go check out the highlights, also 19 years old in that game. So the future, if they develop now, might be a little pain in impending, but a couple years down the road, they've got some good experience, and all of a sudden, they look like building blocks to believe in. Speaking of building blocks to believe in, one of those people we thought was going to step up the most when the Marines unfortunately lost the generational talent Roki Sasaki was starter Atsuki Taneichi. Yeah, let's just say that the results don't match the hopes. He was delisted from the active roster on the 17th due to tightness in his right elbow. That's not good. It's his pitching arm. He's 2-3 with a 4.46 ERA and 6 starts right when the team needs him to be better. Yeah, it hasn't gone so hot thus far, unfortunately for them. But we do have to say that there are some really fun pitchers that are still plying their trade and doing well. I mentioned Austin Voth. Kazuya Ojima is soldiering out per usual. He's second on the team with 42 innings. Taneichi is not even qualified right now, and this time off is going to make it an uphill battle. But Haruya Tanaka has been pretty darn good, better than advertised. Even Yuji Nishino is being serviceable. We'll say that. Also, we haven't seen much of Brian Salmons, so who knows? We'll get more out of him if he gets a few more starts. If he's flipping back and forth between the farm club and the top team, I'm not 100% sure on right now since I don't have notes on the subject. But it is safe to say that they cannot possibly be this bad. I mean, they have enough people in the offense who are doing better, ticking up. Neftali Soto is one of them. I think he's got like 3 home runs in the last 2 weeks, which doubles his season total to the point before that. If you get Soto going, if you get Gregory Polanco going, which you expect them to do, they have enough of a track record in NPB doing just that, that it will really help out this offense. So I don't think that this is all doom and gloom and thus not incoherent screaming. You're welcome. But Gabe, do you have any thoughts to add on the Marines?
Just one. Otski, take my ligaments. I don't need them as much.
And
Let's
I
get into the
believe that,
denouement of today's episode with our familiar faces in new places. Matt, what do you got for us?
yeah, well, this is also thanks research hat tip to Jimbo, and we hope you're able to join us next time without some unintentional benching going on. Obviously, we've got the same list of players that we always do. It was a mixed week for the special one, the Wunderkind. It's not really a kind anymore, but I digress. Shohei Ohtani. On the one hand, he absolutely battered former rival Athletics to the tune of 6 hits, 4 homers, and 8 runs batted in this week. But then he also went 5 for 14 against his former club, the Angels. So, like, which is the real Ohtani? I don't know. He hasn't even started pitching yet, and that's going to be a major boon when he begins to throw, because so far the Dodgers have not managed to get their 3 Japanese aces run up and running at the same time. More on that in a second. Back to Ohtani real quick, though. His 16 home runs is now in the lead, and 50 runs scored also leads the entirety of MLB thus far. Sometimes you take the good with the bad, and the bad is also in the form of the Dodgers because Roki Sasaki obviously went on the IL with a shoulder impingement. Now, according to reports, he says the injury he's currently experiencing is a less serious version of what ailed him during his time in Chiba, but followed by saying he wants to use this downtime to reflect on some things and try to get back to his former glory, per Sports Illustrated's Valentina Martinez. Not to make this all about the Dodgers, Kodai Senga on the Mets was definitely fantastic in his most recent start. And I think he had I'm trying to remember what the stat was. And of course, now I'm not coming
Yeah,
up with it.
his
I'll
scoreless
probably
streak
accident.
unfortunately broke.
Yeah.
At Boston, he took the loss, giving up 3 earned runs on 5 hits and 3 walks in 6 innings, raising his season ERA to 1.43. Oh no.
Oh dear. 1.43 in Major League Baseball. It's fascinating to see how stylistically NPB and MLB are different. But one of the ways that it's most notable is that you have to recalibrate what your idea of a good ERA is. To look at NPB pitching talent, like there are I think between all of NPB, I think there are like almost 15 pitchers with a sub 2 ERA
That is true. And in
in
part
a
because
12
MLB lives in a mushball era still.
in a 12 team league. Like per capita, that's way more than MLB can boast. Just saying.
I got one
Anyways,
additional item for familiar faces and new places.
sure.
Former Saitama Seibu Lion Yusei Kikuchi has been doing surprisingly well, just with poor results for the Los
Hmm.
Angeles Angels. 0-2 over 7 starts, but a 2.75 ERA with 34 strikeouts and 36 innings pitched. He even took a no decision against the Dodgers, only giving up 1 earned run on 7 strikeouts back on Sunday.
Well, that will do it for familiar faces in new places. And we are going to go ahead and give ourselves a question of the week before asking all of you to chime in the comments with your respective answers. And the question of the week, take it away, Gabe.
What has been your biggest athletic achievement so far?
Boy, oh boy. Probably one of my one of mine is going quite a ways back because it was a time I was on a youth league team and we were in the championship game like 3 consecutive years, and the first one we didn't win. The second one we did. The third one we took a very very hard luck loss thanks to a throwing error because I was literally the person who couldn't feel the throw from the pitcher. Ah, my achievements are definitely further back in the past, which tells you a lot about my athletic ability.
I had an inside the park home run 2 seasons ago in softball. That's about it for me.
Well done, Gabe. Well done. Congratulations. I'm not just laughing at you. It's great, but it is kind of amusing that
I
it's
don't
inside the
have
park in
over the
softball.
fence power, but occasionally I can run one into the fence.
Did it get
I
stuck
can
in the fence?
No, no, otherwise it would have been an automatic double.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
And a couple of seasons, or a couple times last season, I did get a triple. So the
Well
gap power
done.
is there. It's nice to get my slugging above my on base.
Yeah, there are a few players who would love to say the same, especially in the
Toshiki
league we
Abe
cover.
looking at you.
I mean, he has to stop taking 12 pitch at bats to turn into a walk for that, but you know.
This is true. That's been our time, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you on Friday night when the clock strikes midnight for the midnight matinee as the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks take on the Oryx Buffaloes in Kumamoto. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. We'll see you next week, hopefully with a larger cast, right here on the podcast.